Ratings for games in this podcast are pending. All right, welcome back to the official Xbox podcast, the only podcast coming to you from inside Xbox. And our week of Xbox Showcase themed podcasts continue. If you've missed one from earlier in the week, you know where to go. Check out youtube.com/Xbox, Spotify, or wherever you may download your podcasts. And this is a special one because in 2024, there can be no doubt that Xbox is the home for strategy games. Real-time, turn-based, we have you covered across the board. And today we have a double feature that fans of strategy will not want to miss. In a few minutes, we'll be diving deeper into Age of Mythology Retold. But first, we kick it off with Aura History Untold. And the team has brought a ton of news and new gameplay with them that will answer some of the questions you may have been wondering. But before we get into it, I have my expert co-host, because I am not an expert in strategy games. Just the purpose of this segment is Jen Panettone. Jen, how are you doing today?
Oh, living the dream. How are you? I love strategy games. I don't know, expert. I just like to have fun.
Well, I was going to ask for your credentials.
My credentials.
Let's just say, what's your past with strategy games?
So it really depends. Obviously, I got to play Aura and History Untold this weekend.
Jealous.
Loved it. Oh, I'm so excited to dig into this. I can't even, as they say.
As the kids say.
As the kids say. I love XCOM 2. Have you ever played XCOM 2?
No.
Advent is really hard to defend against. You save Earth from Advent. Love that game. I constantly go back to that game.
Okay.
There's just a lot of different strategy games I play, but those are probably my two main favorites. Well, two main favorites, obviously. Aura is going to be one. So as soon as I saw this game, I was like, I need to play this right now.
Well, let's just jump into it because it sounds like you're qualified. Joining us here from the Aura team, it is Mark and Brian. Mark and Brian, thank you for joining us. Now, can you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do on Aura?
My name is Mark Meyer. I'm the president of Oxide Games. I'm a programmer and product owner of Aura.
And hey, I'm Brian Stone. I am the head of Aura for Xbox Game Studios.
Yeah, so super excited for the game. For those who may not have seen it, or maybe those who need a quick refresher, can you tell us a little bit top level, what is Aura History Untold?
Yeah, so Aura, at its core is a classic turn-based historical grand strategy game that spans the scope of human history from ancient times all the way up to the modern era and beyond. But it's also a game that the team with Mark has been really kind of pouring a lot of modern elements into. They've made the look of the game something completely unique that you've never seen before and added a ton of depth that we've just never seen in a game like this before. And we've brought a lot of it to show today.
We really wanted to make the game different and unique, and we wanted to look at strategy games as they stood and see what we could change, where we could shake it up, how we could improve on these venerated old games.
Yeah, it's all about breaking new ground, which sounds like you all are doing in abundance.
Oh, yeah. So we know Aura was featured back in Developer Direct back in January, but it's been relatively quiet since then. What's the team been up to?
The team's been working very hard. We've been scouring the game from top to bottom, finding every place we can to make improvements, polish, tweak, improve, better and better and better.
Yeah, and also, goes without saying, we've been playing the game a lot. You obviously played a bunch this weekend. I love to share that this is a game that we've partnered with to really make for fans. In fact, people have been playing this game since when we ran first technical alpha once. September of 2022. Wow. People have been playing the game since then. We've been taking feedback all along. And even right now, we're right in the middle of our third technical alpha. Thousands of people are playing the game right now.
And that is so cool. And I always like to talk about this because I always see devs' eyes light up when they talk about their connection to the community. What is it like developing a game alongside the community? Like you said, getting that feedback. How integral is that to making a game?
Well, I think you have to have that in a game like this. The game is sort of so deep, so genuinely and interestingly complex that the balance isn't something that one team can do all on their own. You have to have a large community playing it and giving you feedback for long lengths of time, throughout development, to get that balance.
Yeah, you really want to hear what everyone has to say about it because everyone's going to have a different experience and you want to hear what worked, what didn't for everybody.
Yeah, well, speaking of that experience, let's waste no more time. I hear you brought gameplay with you, so let's take a look at some of this gameplay. And already on this first frame, I'm seeing a lot. Walk us through it.
So this is just,
stunning is what it is.
It's literally kind of breathtaking. This shot,
This is my favorite one that we've got today. It's just gorgeous. This is not a cinematic. This is in-game engine footage, generated maps. So one of the places that we changed things up is we don't have regular regions. We're not grid-based. We're not tile-based. We're not hex-based. We have irregular regions that are generated to represent the entire planet.
When you've got different biomes, like go back a second, look at the rain. Just look at the detail on that rain. Like this is a strategy game.
Yes, it is, and you've
put so much detail and thought into. I mean, you can see the different foliage on the trees. You can see these boulders, how they all differ. They're all unique. It doesn't look like a lot of copy and paste into development at all. This is all unique.
Yeah, this is all randomly generated. Every time you build a new game, every time you play again, you will get a different world. It's going to generate for you. It's going to be full of all these different biomes. I don't even know how we did this. All the snow on the trees, because that's where trees are and where snow is. And so you end up with something like this.
And you refer to this as the living world.
Correct. It's the living world. It's full of all types of interesting things we want the players to notice and to see.
Look at the
volcanoes.
magma.
The magma. Yeah.
It's amazing.
And it's a resource.
Yeah.
Go on.
That's part of the game. That's something that you will harvest and get things from. Like here's copper, and you can see you will found your nation here, and you'll use that resource to improve the lives of your people and your citizens.
Look at this. Oh, we got the cougars.
Amazing.
Can they eat people?
Yeah, the wild animals are dangerous.
Like
you have to clear them out before you can build in areas.
So be careful. They're not, there's the joke, if it's cold outside, let them in. Not with the cougars, right?
Correct, not the cougars.
Unless I want them to take out my citizens. We'll see. I'll make a game time decision on that one. But even looking at this, I want to take a step back because there may be people like me who haven't jumped into strategy games but are really interested in RA and like looking to it. So let's take a step back. Can you tell us a little bit about the game flows? Like, where do you start? Like, and what does winning look like? Is there a winning in Aura?
Yeah, absolutely. So we can start with the basics. So when the game starts, you've got this generated, as we saw, beautiful, natural, pristine world, untouched. And the player will start just with their first small village, a single village hall, some villagers that are doing sort of like just gathering from the natural environment, and a scout to go explore the world with. That's all you start with. From there, your kind of first decision is, okay, what do I start kind of improving? What do I start building? How do I work to manage and improve the lives of my citizens who are in this burgeoning little village? And then also, what do I do with my scout, and how do I go out and explore the world? And from there, turn by turn by turn, you move from this one tiny little village to a megalopolis spanning continents, multiple cities, competing with other nations, competing with other players. And then you asked what winning looks like, right? Yeah. Ultimately, the goal of this game is, through your own creativity, your own inspiration, to be the most prestigious nation on Earth. And you can do that across a lot of different types of gameplay. You can pursue military conquest, you can pursue religious victories, you can pursue industry and just be a captain of industry, you can expand and explore the world and be a kind of a beacon for other nations through prestige. You can explore culture and masterpieces. There's almost a kind of unbounded set of ways to kind of go invest in kind of what you're building from that first little village.
Yeah, so it's almost like a mirror of what civilization has been, right? I always think about, like, we all started with, like, there's rocks, sticks and fire. Yeah. And we look at us, we're sitting in a podcast room. Like, how did this come to be, right? Yep. And that evolution. So in the game, we're going to see that evolution and how players take the beginnings and create, like you said, this huge city.
Absolutely. Yeah. So think about, like, it's the foundations of a classic historical strategy game like Civ. In fact, this is part of the team that built Civ 5. Nice. So it's got that bones, but from there, think about that mapped onto a simulation and a living world simulation that has the depth of like your favorite kind of deep paradox game or something. Mush those two together, and you've got something really special.
Nice.
Sign me up. Sign me up. So what are you both most excited for players to see in Aura?
So what I really want people to see are these generated worlds, this beautiful planet that we can make for them with these sprawling mountains and trees and places where they can build their world. They can build their nation, they can improve it, they can build improvements, they can wall off their cities and protect themselves.
See these planes here? That is, I'm looking forward to that.
But even, you love flight sim, I know that.
I
but
do,
even then, like, there, you have these buildings here, you have walls, you have a portion of your city that's heavily industrial. But when you zoomed out for a second, there were still farms, there were still agriculture.
You've
so
got to feed people.
Exactly. You don't have to completely go, I don't know if there are hydroponics and you put everything in warehouses, but having kind of the variance in building, walls, farms, all that goodness, it's amazing to see how diverse this is.
Yeah. As your nation grows and as you gather people, you'll gain claims that'll let you take over pieces of land and grow your empire and find new places to build and new resources to exploit. And so it's all this self-fulfilling system where you grow so that you can grow more and you can get more land and you can get more resources. And then you take those resources and you refine them through our crafting system to produce amenities that will improve the quality of life of your people.
And I want to come to crafting in a second, but Brian, what are you most excited for players to experience and discover?
Well, I think one of the things that I find really kind of cool about the game is that it is about, at its core, about like making the lives of your citizens better. It's kind of core on every city that you're managing, that you have this quality of life stat across multiple kind of various angles. And depending on how kind of healthy or happy or educated, how much they feel secure of all your citizens, those kind of feed into buffing all of the other stats that you're managing. Mm-hmm. And because of the way the world is simulated, you don't just sort of like see that on a bit of UI. You can also sort of like zoom right down into the world and see those kind of happy citizens living out their lives.
Playing in the playground and everything. And I imagine like a happy like citizen base, like you said, will help your city. Look at this.
This is another image that I just adore. If we can pause on this for a second, it's just beautiful. You can see this built up city, but you've also got the farmlands that you need and just a sprawling empire.
Well, it also tells a story because I think you have an old medieval or kind of early city that's within the walled city, and then as you advance, you've got the larger, bigger city with the skyscrapers out there. Right. You can actually see how that person built their civilization. So one thing, going back to the basics for a second and to the very beginning, every nation starts with a leader, and you have a very interesting lineup of leaders. Tell us more about that.
That's true. So we've got 36 leaders.
36? Wow.
Yep, or maybe more. We'll share more later, but we'll start with 36 leaders, yeah. And a very kind of diverse cast of leaders. It's kind of one of the interesting things about the game is that because there's so many different ways to play through it, we wanted to make sure that there were leaders for every play style. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you'll see in the examples here that every leader has a kind of a collection of different types of traits that kind of define who they are, that's roughly historically accurate in terms of like, how they existed in the world in their time. But then also every leader has what we just call a hero trait, which is we've kind of really pushed pretty far in this game to be strongly differentiating. So the kind of advantages, if you're a kind of a warlike leader with Shaka, the advantages and the buffs that you get towards your military are going to be quite dramatic, and allow you to really kind of lean into that play style. And kind of even just of the leaders that we've shown here, we've got Otto von Bismarck, who's like a captain of industry. We've got Ya here, who is great at kind of building triumphs and at production. We've got leaders that lean into the religious play and kind of everything in between.
So each of the leaders has sort of this unique hero trait, like Brian said, that sets them apart from everyone else. But they've also got these sort of set of traits that they share with each other, and they kind of dictate a little bit of the underlying pieces of their personality, and they dictate how they're going to get along with each other or not, or how well they're going to work together or not. And it lets us have just a huge variety in the different leaders that we offer, and make so that playing each one of them is very different.
It also plays into the diplomacy, which I find really fascinating because depending on what traits you kind of share or don't share with other nations, you're more predisposed to be allies, sort of like friends or enemies with them. And it plays out in a really interesting way in that, like, I might have a negative trait, right, that feels like it's, I might be a particularly grumpy leader, but if I run into another nation or another leader in the world that shares that trait with me, well, then we're going to get along, right?
Yeah. Ooh, I'm not a grumpy guy in real life, but I kind of want to be a grumpy leader, not going to lie, just to make everybody mad at me.
The grumpy coalition.
Yeah.
You can, that's kind of the beauty of it. You can kind of be who you want to be.
Yeah, who you want to be,
Yeah.
But earlier we talked a little bit about what players' experience is going to be moment to moment, but I also hear that you don't have to play the game alone. Like, there's multiplayer in this game. Can you tell us a bit about what that looks like?
Exactly right. So there is multiplayer in this game. It's fully realized in that however many nations you can play with in a single-player game, you can mix in as many other real human players as you want. And there's two things in particular that we're actually really excited about with Ara. One is that the team at Oxide invested a lot from day one into this concept of simultaneous turns, like true simultaneous turns.
So the way that works is you submit your actions, and everyone else in the world submits their actions at the same time, and when they all get resolved together. It's not a situation where if you go first, you get to get the claim. The person who goes second doesn't get to get the claim. In this model, everyone goes at exactly the same time. So in multiplayer, you really have a fair chance at everything.
Yeah, it also just speeds up the gameplay a lot. So when you're playing with, imagine you're playing with, 30 other real people, right? In a round robin game, you take your turn, then you got to wait for 29 other people to take their turn. Well, obviously that doesn't really work. Ara solves that because everybody's taking their turn at the same time, then it resolves, and then everybody takes their turn again. So you just get this real fluidity to gameplay that you don't typically see in a turn-based game.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, we've built all of that turn processing in the Azure cloud, which means that it's all there, all running all the time. So anybody in any game can like hot join, in, out. You can run games at any pace you want. If you want to play a game like one turn a day or one turn every 30 seconds, it doesn't matter. You can do that. You don't need to worry about who's hosting. It's like got almost unlimited flexibility in terms of how you play.
We really wanted to remove all of the barriers for multiplayer. It can be really hard to get a game like this together with a bunch of friends and play at the same time all the time. But with Ara, we don't have to do that. You can jump in and out of as many games as you want. You can take your turn when you have time and wait until it gets submitted. If your friend decides he doesn't want to play anymore, an AI can come in and take over for him. It doesn't mean the end of your entire world. If you're playing online and you don't want to do that, you can stop. And you don't have to worry about destroying the game for everyone else who's playing.
Yeah. All about pushing those boundaries. I love how you all are trying new things. And I feel like simultaneous turns kind of more mimics like how it is in real life. Like, you're not necessarily waiting for another person to make a move. Like, you're all working together and trying to figure out what, your friends are going to do. So I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. I do want to talk about this portion right here for a second. So I see amenities. There's a lot on this page, actually. So you have a lot from the living world. You can obviously see it's not standard. It's very different. It's been generated uniquely. And you have a bunch of different, things on the side. We talked about crafting earlier, but I really do want to talk about that because I think that's a big differentiator. Like, for full disclosure, it took me 30, 45 minutes before I made my first move playing this game because I wanted to read and understand everything.
That's a perfect strategy game. Yes. That's what you want. That's what you want your players doing, thinking about every single move that they make.
Yep.
Yeah, so the way we've set it up, like in many 4X strategy games, you are harvesting resources from the world. You are putting out your resource harvesters, your farms, and your mines, and your logging camps to get the natural bounty of the world. And you get those as natural resources, as raw resources, and there's different things you can do with them. You can build your improvements and things like that. But some of the more sophisticated resources can be crafted. They can go through a crafting system to build a new item. that will then feed into something else. So you can harvest wheat from the map, and then you can take that and go through a bakery and turn that into bread, and you can give that bread to your people, which makes them healthier and happier. It raises their quality of life. So we've tried to find as many ways as we can to kind of push these things together in historically accurate ways to combine them together and let you build new amenities.
Here you get a sense of that. So you got a blacksmith crafting metal ingots, one building making metal ingots, really simple. But if you think about the kind of scope of the supply chain that makes possible, it means that everything that you're harvesting can be turned into almost anything else. You have complete flexibility yourself over how you want to set up that kind of flow of goods through harvesting, through production, through consumption. And all the various ways that you can consume it, if you look at the city screen as well, is you can apply all of that as amenities to your city. You can apply it as buffs to the building, so it's almost like feeds itself. And you can apply it as buffs to other kind of units and strategies in the game. I think the key thing also, just to make note, is that you learn a little bit about history as you do this as well. So like all of the amenities are kind of designed around moments in history where kind of new goods or new resources became available in ways that kind of transformed how people lived in that time, right? Yeah. So what was the moment in history where like cured meat became available, or when the first like piano was made on the culture side, or you know, and like, so we've gone and done the research and sort of like peppered that in to when these things become available in the game, and you have this big kind of menu of things to pick from that teach you a little bit about history, but also give you this kind of deep flexibility in terms of how you're going to run your civilization.
So I'm going to ask, what's your why? You know, why was it important to you all to make a game, a grand strategy game like this, where you have historically accurate elements like that? You know, what was the driving force behind that for both of you?
Oh, I mean, we just wanted to show it to people. I mean, we want to model the world. It's so complex and so sophisticated. History is so huge. We wanted to be able to show that to people and build a really sophisticated toy for everyone to play with. You know, we put a lot of effort into making it as interesting and sophisticated as we could, but at the same time, we really wanted it to be beautiful. It's this huge, whirling, spinning, singing, dancing, amazing piece of technology that is just gorgeous to look at for me.
And it works. It just works. Just based off of this, it just all of those elements, like you said, just work together so nicely.
Absolutely. I mean, it's been such a great year for strategy gamers with the release of Millennia, Manor Lords, and the upcoming release of Age of Mythology. So, what other games are you both playing right now? And what are you loving about them? I want to make sure that I want that's the most important part for me. I want the game, I want the why.
So I'm getting back into RimWorld right now, which is just every 6 months or so, it just sucks me up for a whole month, and I can think about nothing but RimWorld, and it's just so much fun to watch the stories play out and what things happen that you just can't predict.
Yeah, I mean, for me, you know, I said it before, I'm a bit of a fan of the Paradox games. They just have a kind of a richness and depth to the simulation that I love. And yet, I'm also a fan of the games that, like, Mark has made in the past that just have this really approachable kind of, you know, deep historical play. And the idea of, like, blending those two has been like a really cool idea. For me, to answer your question directly, I play a lot of Victoria, which is kind of this like Victoria 3 specifically. It's this kind of deep kind of inspection of a specific moment in history, which is a toy to play with in its own right. And, you know, I think we're approaching something like that complexity, but for like 6,000 BC well, it's just the future.
Video games are art, right? And I love hearing devs talk about the art that their peers make, right? Yes. And the fact that you all are making games that you play and you love, like it shows through in the game as we're looking at this, as you're talking about it. Like that is the best part. But now I have to ask the tough questions, because at the Developer Direct, you all said coming later this year in the fall. But I'm going to press for a release date. Do you all have any news to announce?
Coming later this year, we're going to make good on that promise.
All right.
So yes, I can tell you today, Ara History Untold is launching on September 24th, 2024. It's launching on Steam and PC Game Pass, coming exclusively to PC. and I strongly recommend that you wishlist it today on Steam. So you're there to follow us, to get all the news. We're going to be talking about it a lot more over the summer. Yeah. But yep, coming September 24th, 2024.
There we go. We got a date.
We got it. It's on my calendar.
You're welcome, everybody. Yeah. I got the date.
That
was me. That was
He did it.
That was all me. Now, if fans want to, I guess, get themselves, accustomed to the game or in the zone for the game a little bit, I hear that there's the soundtrack is going to be on Spotify, right? So they can jump in and listen to it.
Absolutely. There's a preview of the soundtrack on Spotify right now. We're actually really proud of the soundtrack. Oh, yes. This is all original music, all composed just for our History Untold. It's great. We're getting really good feedback on it. Yeah, go listen to a little preview right now.
There we go. Well, Mark and Brian, thank you all so much for stopping by. I'm reluctant to tell you that your turn is over.
Oh, no.
I did not write that. It was just in the teleprompter. But again, thank you for stopping by and talking about the game. And September 24th on PC. Wishlist it now. Thank you so much for joining us. And we'll check in with you again before launch. But of course, for now, let's roll into the second half of our double feature. This is Age of Mythology Retold.
We return to you now as the gods of mankind.
All right, let us continue our super special strategy episode now with Age of Mythology Retold.
And as you can see, we've had a bit of a wardrobe change. Here's a sneak peek behind the scenes here. We don't film these interviews on this angle.
Yeah, we tried to, but I was being too much of a diva and I needed rest.
You really were.
Yeah, but we are joined by some guests, new guests here today. We have Ernest and Emma. How are you two doing from the World's Edge team?
Good. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. All right. For people who are watching for the first time, tell us what you do, who you are, all that good stuff.
Sure. Hi, I'm Emma Bridle. I'm Director of Player Engagement at World's Edge, which basically means I'm thinking about all the ways that we're building relationships with our players, whether that's community or customer support or in-game features or esports. Our community have been with us a long time. We're going on 27 years as a franchise. They're very, very important to us. They're the heartbeat of what we do. And so I'm just constantly thinking about how we build those relationships, keep those relationships good, and keep them with us as we move forward into the future.
Well, love that. Ernest.
And I'm Ernest Yuan. I'm Senior Director of Production at World's Edge. What that really means is I get to work with all the different production teams to build Edge games together. Yes, best job ever. It is amazing. And the running joke in our team is I've been around for more than a quarter century. In fact, the original Age of Empires 1 program manager is the person who hired me into the game industry.
Oh, they're proud of you.
So I'm going to dive right in because I'm super excited. So you've brought some exclusive, never before seen footage. But before we get into that, for people who might not be familiar with Age of Mythology, tell us about Retold.
Okay, so I'm going to strip it back for Malik and anyone else who is new to strategy because we want to make them comfortable.
All ears.
So Age of Mythology Retold is a real-time strategy game, and it's set in the world of mythology where you've got humans living alongside monsters, living alongside gods. So you want to pick a pantheon, and in the base game we've got the Norse, the Atlanteans, the Greeks, and the Egyptians. You'll pick gods and goddesses, deities that you want to pay tribute to, and they'll bless you with their powers as you build up your civilization and work towards battling to victory. So it's this fantastical, chaotic, magical world that you get to control and you get to steer, and it's really, really exciting. So.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about Showcase, right? Mm-hmm. New trailer at Showcase. Can you recap for us what we saw, and why should Age of Mythology fans be excited?
Right. So we showed the trailer, which we are super proud of, and this is the very first time we get to show in-game footage of the Age of Mythology Retold. And finally people get to see what the game looks like in motion. So very, very happy to be able to show that to the world. And we have also announced that, it is not that far off. Our launch date is September 4th, coming up soon. So very, very happy about that as well. And pre-orders are now available.
So get your pre-orders
already started.
What are y'all waiting for?
And this is the first title that for us, we're launching day one PC and Xbox. So we brought H2 and H4 to console, but we brought them post the PC launch.
Sure.
This is day one, both platforms. Find it in Game Pass, find it on console, find it on PC, and everyone can play together from day one.
That's amazing. I'm so excited.
It's really exciting.
Yeah, I feel like console fans have always been, because we have the restrictions of the controller, so to speak.
Yeah.
You all did a great job with Age of Empires, but it's always been a thing, like the input of a controller is not as easy for those games as a keyboard and mouse, for example.
We basically brought Age of Empires 2 and Age of Empires 4 to the console. So honestly, they took a lot of work to get it to the place that, and I'm very, very happy to see that our fans felt that we were successfully being able to bring RTS working really well on console. And we are now taking all those learnings and applying them to both the PC and the Xbox version of Age of Mythology Retold. So for example, in the console version, one of the innovations that we did is what we call the villager priority system. So what that does is, so once you can actually set what the villagers do. So they can actually go take care of some of those tasks for you. So for example, you want some of them to go over to go get the food, some of them to go get the wood, so and they will go do that for you. So you can concentrate on building units to go battle, etc. So that really take the level of complexity down, so to actually make it, but you are still in control, because strategically you are still making the decisions on how you actually want those villagers to actually be applied to different resources. But you get to control it in a way that's much easier, simpler for you. The other, for example, similar thing is still what we call the site menu system. So you see wood, since we talk about like getting villagers to get the wood. So intuitively, why do you need to go through, pick a villager and then build house and do those, like you say, it takes an hour to learn sometimes, right? What you can now do is you see wood, just click on it and then say like, hey, I want someone here to collect this wood. And then the villager will actually come, build a camp, and actually collect those. Just makes it way smoother and easier, especially to help a lot of new people coming to enjoy RTS with us.
And it comes with some great presets as well. So if you,
it's amazing.
You know, your priorities are going to be different in the first age of the game as you're sort of establishing your economy, and you can just be like, I want the age 1 preset. Go ahead, build my economy whilst I go and figure out.
Oh my god, that's so nice.
Yeah. And again, if you're a pro player and you don't need that, you don't have to use it, but the system is there to help you get started.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so handy, because sometimes resource management takes so long to set up, and then I don't know if it's just me, but I will sit there and sometimes watch. I'm like, did I do it right? Am I getting the right stuff? That's magic.
Yeah.
That is absolute magic.
And even as someone newer to strategy games, I do feel like one of the things that I noticed when you brought Age of Empires to console was this overwhelming, like, I don't want to say shock, but overwhelming, like, positivity around what the work that you all did to adapt it to a controller. So just kudos to the team on that once more, because that is impressive, and that helps someone like me who's going to be on a controller. I'm going to be that guy.
I'm excited.
Great.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But I hear you all brought some gameplay for us, which I'm excited to jump in so you all can kind of explain to players and obviously fans of the series what we're experiencing here. So let's take a look at this and let's talk through it.
Yeah.
Lantian and his men have been taken to the prison. Your allies recommend a diversion so you can slip in and rescue him.
So yeah, this is a campaign mission. So I think this is an exclusive first look on an actual mission from the campaign.
Exclusive.
So this is great.
So tell us what we're seeing here.
Yep, this is from the Isis Hear My Plea campaign and the mission. And this is in this particular one, you played as the Egyptian heroine, and you go around the level and try to go to different temples and collect new additional mythological units for your army. Just continue to build it up and then like to play for the level. It is one of my favorite levels ever. It is super fun. You really get to showcase all the different mythological units. As you can see, there are Amun-Ra there, and then which is the hero that you are playing as, and then there are one of my favorite units in the game is called Petuchos. I can't say that word Petuchos. I can't say that word properly. So internally, we have been like joking around and just like call it the laser crab.
Laser crab.
And they get the power of the sun.
Yeah, it's a bejeweled crocodile.
Yes.
with a lens mounted on its back that will focus the rays into basically creating a laser beam.
Right.
So like I was really excited about this game already, and I was already gonna
and then you heard
all that, and then I heard laser croc.
Yeah.
And then I'm in. Sign me up. Doing it.
This game is just like crazy amazing. Just imagine like how many games are there that you get to use all these different like Greek gods versus Egyptians, like different mythological units. Like here on screen we have the scarabs. And they are very, very good. Like they are giant scarabs. These are like they are kaiju scarabs. Very good at attacking buildings. They are really good. And that's the lasers right there.
So this is an army of laser crocs. Oh, they're so cool.
Scarabs.
And giant
Giant
scarabs.
scarabs.
And they're just wrecking.
Yes, because the way that the game is played, so since we talk about strategy games, it's a rock, paper, scissors system. So very often, the mythological units are very good against human units. But then you have the hero units. The hero units are especially good against the mythological units. So there's like a triangle going on. That's super fun and really makes you, as the player, pick different strategic decisions as you play through the levels. It's really cool, just you can actually keep on playing. It's kind of like 3D chess.
It's like 3D chess. I love that.
I want to give props to all our programmers team as well. So as you see, the game looks way better. We now support ray tracing. We have sharp shadows that we are now supporting now, which is fantastic. We have new particle system. That's how you like get a lot of the new effects in the game. So they did an amazing job. So
and Jen was saying it's beautiful. It is beautiful, and like you can see the distinct architecture for each pantheon and each culture, different biomes. If you've seen any of the screenshots that we've put out so far, you've got snow and you play as the Norse, and it just looks so good. And then, as I said, it's a little disappointing then when you destroy it, but there's some beauty in that. But it's also fun.
It just means you have to go back and do it again.
Yeah.
Oh no! Twist my arms more.
For someone like me, and I asked this to the Aura team, like, what would you consider winning as someone who's jumping into this game and is like, all right, what's my objective? Like, how do you all view winning in this game?
So there are definitely many different ways you can play the game. So, for example, we have a campaign. We have multiple campaigns that together. I believe there are like 15 missions.
50 missions.
On the game. They really keep you busy. Wow. But most people, like once you start playing, what they really enjoy is what we call the skirmish mode. So you start versus AI or co-op with your friends against AI, which is super popular. Like 2v2 is very, very popular way to play the game. So what you do is like you take a few villagers, you start with a town center, and you just build. You go through the different ages, you upgrade. Each time you upgrade different ages, you get to pick different new power that you can actually have. And then continue to build your army, and hopefully at the end, when you battle, you come out on top. If not, then you still have a good time. So it's really great.
You can try again.
Yes.
And if you want to play with players around the world, go for multiplayer.
Or you can play against the computer locally.
Yeah. So lots of
choice.
Things.
That's awesome. To build off that question, why is now the best time to jump into the game for fans?
We know that real-time strategy as a genre has quite a steep learning curve, so we've really designed this to be the most accessible game that we've done so far in terms of welcoming people in, showing them the ropes, helping them build up their skills, making them feel comfortable. So over the last few years, we've released our original Age of Empires titles in definitive editions, Age of Empires 4, and we've learned along the way what helps players with those, learn those skills and refine those. And so we've brought systems and features from those other games and brought them to Retold, really bringing it together so that new players can enjoy this as well as folks who've played it already.
That focus on approachability is so important because you're right. Sometimes when you start a new strategy game, it can take you 30 minutes to even look at all the different units that you can create. I mean, if you've got, gods and pantheons, you have to learn and figure out what are the advantages. Like, each one's unique, each one's different. So I love that you've taken all of the learnings over the last, all the games that you've made and put them into this. That's incredibly exciting.
We've been building up our audience. I mean, Age of Empires has been a franchise more than 25 years. We've got 50 million players all over the world, some who've been with us since the beginning and some who are relatively new, and we've been learning along the way. And those definitive editions, Age of Empires 4, have really helped us learn what does and doesn't work and bring all that good learning into Age of Mythology Retold. And we think that the theme is really inviting as well. Like, who didn't have a geeky mythology phase when they were growing up? Was that just me? Like, were you really into the Greek gods? Is that just just me?
I'm sure it's not just you. There's no
Everyone
way.
did.
There's no way.
Yeah.
Everyone.
So we've the original game actually. So Age of Mythology, the original was launched in 2002, and think back to where you were in 2002 and the machines you were playing on.
Wow.
Yep.
Picture those CRT monitors, at the internet cafe or in your sort of teenage bedroom. And so, we've got those fans of the original, and people are hungry for it, and we're excited to finally be on the road to them getting to play.
I will say your fan base is so passionate.
Oh,
because
gosh,
I wanted to do a bunch of research before this weekend.
Yeah.
And so there was, I think, like an hour-long or 45-minute video of someone analyzing screenshots.
Oh, yeah.
And just looking at, like, this is this character, I think this is this, like, and the excitement and the enthusiasm and the passion. Like, I was excited before, and now I'm even more excited because seeing how the fans have reacted to what you've shown them so far and what they're going to react to today.
Yeah.
They're the beating heart of the franchise. That's why we've been going for 27 years this year. The fans have kept the franchise going. And we've brought them on side with us. We have a player council who've been helping to build Retold with us, who are fans of the original game, who know what it should feel like and look like and sound like and play like. And we still want that feeling of the original as we bring Retold to life. And they've been helping us shape that, telling us what works and telling us what doesn't and how we can make it better. So they're very much a part of the team.
Yep. Yeah. We'll say like for World's Edge, right? For all our titles, our fans that have been they have been with us for so long now. We really do care about the community a lot. I've now met fans that talk about like, oh, I'm now teaching my kids how to play this game, and so it's now cross-generational. So it is amazing.
Yeah, parents playing with kids. During lockdown, we had people homeschooling history with Age of Empires games.
No way!
The shuts. And, people who've gone in and become history teachers because they learned history from the game. So we are very lucky to do what we do, and we are well aware that we're in a very wonderful position. We're very grateful.
I hate to sound like a broken record, but I feel like all week we've been hearing from developers who, again, like that connection with the community is super important. So I won't belabor anymore, but it is great to hear that fans and players around the world can connect.
Keep mentioning it.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. Give it a shout out to
They're
the players.
heartbeat of what we do. So.
Yeah. So one thing I've always had a question on, and I'm glad that you two are here to kind of clear this up for me. So how does a retold title like this differ from something like a definitive edition title? What is the specific difference?
Good question.
Okay, so I work on all the definitive editions so far, so I can definitely say that the goal for the definitive edition is like the definitive edition. We try to build the awesome game that people remembered so that they are updated with like new graphics or new way of playing the game to make sure that you really get to play the game that's in your head, that exactly how you remembered it.
You remember.
Yeah.
But not exactly how it really was. So, but like that is the game that we want to build. So, but for Retold, we do everything that we have been doing for definitive editions, but we go beyond that. We are actually going to add new mechanics, new features in the game. So it's not just about preservation. We are going to like add new ideas and new game to really, because I think we're lucky enough that at 2024 we finally have hardware that can do this concept really the justice it deserved. So it is fantastic. We get to add some new features that that people will really, really like. So yeah, going beyond all those.
I do want to go back to what you said a little bit now on the idea of games looking now like we thought they looked back then.
Yeah.
Because that is something that I have just discovered so recently, but I'm like, wow, to me on the CRT TV, this looked amazing. And then you go back and you play and you're like, oh.
You play and you go, oh.
Yikes. Okay, that's not quite what it looked like. Yeah.
Yes.
And so I hear you brought a few images to really showcase to players who are viewing this the difference and really that jump.
Yeah, definitely.
So let's talk through those.
Yeah. So the first one that we're going to show, so this is a screenshot from a campaign mission from 2002. So again, envision it on that CRT monitor and in your, I don't know, the PC room at your university. Take yourself back to 2002.
Yeah.
And this is what it looks
Incredible.
like in Retold.
Oh my.
So this is the same shot from the same mission. It's the first mission of the campaign. And you can see the difference.
Yeah, the level of detail in the water, obviously the ripples in the water and additional foliage and trees and just that added level of detail. So you all really went deep in.
Oh, yeah. The art team, basically everything has been redone, reimagined, retold, if you will.
Oh,
Added a friendly kraken.
Oh,
Is he shaking his hand? Like I can't.
Friendly, yeah.
Not quite friendly.
I mean, it looks like
quite.
they're shaking hand. Am I wrong? It looks like they're shaking.
It's nice that it looks
Sure.
that way. I wouldn't necessarily say you're gonna have to play to find out. Maybe play to find
it's a
out.
friend.
Well, his name is George now, and he looks really friendly to me. I'm open to being wrong. It kind of sounds
There
like
we go.
I
I
am,
mean,
but
that's canon now.
this
right?
is my truth.
Yeah, sure.
This is my
Sounds good.
truth.
Yeah. But we're going to take a look at some units as well. So this is an Atlantean Titan. So you can see on the left, 2002, looks great.
Good. It looks great.
Yeah.
Retold looks better.
Greater.
Yeah, greater. Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Like you can tell he's made out of magma.
Yeah, he's had a glow up and like
Nice.
literal glowing with the
Because-
particle
look,
effects.
right.
Yeah, so he looks great.
Yeah.
We can take a look at some of the building
Destruction,
destruction animations. So you can see the original, and then coming through to Retold. Our art director Melinda does a great. She also does an action and a sound for like the original versus Retold. And you see, the building gets impacted and it just sort of drops.
Yeah.
And then here we've added the particle effect. It crumbles. You've got
The
all the
smoke.
the dust as
Yeah,
it
dust, yeah.
and sometimes watching the buildings get destroyed is actually one of my favorite parts in our games, actually, because it's done
Kinda-
so
Just
beautifully.
destroy beauty.
Kind of cathartic, right?
I mean, it's heartbreaking when you build this beautiful city and then, but
It's heartbreaking if it's yours.
it is, and there's still some beauty to it being destroyed, I guess.
It's a beautiful disaster, and then you get to
Exactly,
build it.
yeah.
Try it again.
Yeah, definitely. So here we've got Arcantos. So Arcantos is the hero of the campaign, and again, he's just looking a little bit more defined, a little bit. He's got more detail to him. We can see him looking great. He's ready to go and tackle a whole load of adventures. And then on the right, you've got Athena from the Greek pantheon. And so, yeah, again, 2002 versus Retold. You can just see the level of detail that we've been able to bring in Retold. We wanted to include some animals for Jen.
Yay! And I'm loving this.
So you've got the Trojan horse, technically, animal-like, but then we've
Animal
got
Close enough.
adjacent.
animal adjacent, and then we've got our goat and our doe, who are just, looking just fantastic in Retold.
I mean, I would pet all of them.
Slight upgrade.
I would absolutely pet all of them.
One thing our executive producer Tim loves is as the animals eat, they get fatter.
No way! You actually built that in?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
New feature in Retold.
Dynamic animals.
I love
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So we've got the behemoth here. Again, just looking so good in Retold, and
The
just
definition in those tusks and the fangs and all that. Oh my god,
just
that's
looking
incredible.
so good. We've got Cerberus here. So if folks watched our New Age event, we actually recreated him in AR, sort of not quite true life scale. And then we've got the Sphinx as well. So we've got distinct visual upgrades, and it's just looking so good. Again, you play it in 2002, you think it looks great, you're on the technology of the time, but we've really sort of brought it up to date. 4K, ray tracing, all the models have been redone, we've added new details, it's just looking fantastic. So huge kudos. I had no part in this. Huge kudos to the art team. It's looking amazing.
And this, honestly, it is also not just the art, right? The sound was upgraded.
Yes.
All the other features is upgraded as well. And I do want to give kudos to Ensemble who created the original game. I'm a big fan of, and the game was already super fun. But honestly, the hardware at the time, there was limitation. It was the first 3D games that in the Age of Empires series. So people probably did not even remember that 3D game was a big deal at the time. And honestly, at the time, I thought graphics will never get better than this.
That's
This
what we
is
always said,
amazing.
yeah.
So, right. And it was great. But there were some limitation. For example, one of the features that in the original game, we noticed that people, when they play against each other, you can actually, most of the god powers, you can only use it once. So what ends up happening is people care about, I'm going to save it, I'm going to save this for the right moment. But what ended up happening is the match will actually end, and then they never actually get to use it. But those are the coolest things that you get to do in the game. So what we are doing in Retold, as an example of new features we're adding, is now god powers are rechargeable.
Nice.
So you can use it multiple times, and strategically that change how you think about how to use those, and it is much more fun. In fact, we also added a new age called the Wonder Age. And during the Wonder Age, you would actually be able to use the god powers for even cheaper costs. so at a discount, so you get to use it even more. So God powers everywhere.
More meteor storms, just more.
I'm into that.
Yeah.
I'm very into that.
It's just chaos. Our lead designer, Kristen, calls it the bacchanal of chaos. It's just at the end of the game, everything's cheaper. You can just go for it and just unleash everything you've got. And it's
super
so much
fun.
Yeah.
That's such a good thing to do, honestly, because I don't know about you, but any game I play where I can like hold on to something and then it's an important resource, I get to the end of the game, I'm like, I never use this ever. Or like when you know you're about to win, like in a strategy game like this, and you know, like, you're like, I'm not losing past this point, and then you do it just because you can.
Yeah.
But it's not that it helped you at all.
to.
Like it wasn't a strategic thing. You're just like, I'm doing it now because I just want to make sure I do it.
Yeah.
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 So Wonder Age is just going to be really, really fun.
More is more. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
More is more.
You know?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Indeed.
So now I know the game hasn't even come out yet, but did I hear that you might be able to talk about some of the future additional content and expansion? Please, pretty please, I want it.
Well, as you said, pretty please. Yeah. Okay, so there are going to be 2 expansions for Age of Mythology Retold. And if you pre-order our premium edition, those will be included. Ooh. So you'll get the game and the expansions. And we're not ready to talk about the second one yet, but we are going to tell you that the first expansion for Age of Mythology Retold is going to be an all-new Chinese pantheon. Ooh. And we're not ready to show it just yet, but we're going to tell you that it's amazing. It looks great. I think players are really going to love it. So that you can get hold of that as the first expansion.
Well, that's exciting because not only do players have September 4th to look forward to, September 4th.
Yeah. Pre-order now, please.
But I think any player is always going to want more. You all you really view that, I'm imagining, as really a starting point for the game.
Oh, gosh,
And those expansions to continue to keep, as the kids would say, keep them fed. I think that's what they say. I don't
I'm
know.
pretty sure that's right.
Sure.
I'm pretty sure that's right.
We like to, honestly, all our titles, for our fans that have been playing our games, they know that we like to think of our titles like evolving titles.
Yeah.
So really, like the launch day, September 4th is really only just a start.
Yeah.
We'll continue to update the game, we'll take feedback from our community, and then continue to keep improving the title. But since you mentioned September 4th and the premium edition, I do want to point out that like the people who get the premium edition will be able to play the game up to 7 days early. So they get early access to the game, get to like play it. So it is going to be fantastic. And in fact, the premium edition has more than just early.
Wait, there's more.
Wait, there's more.
Yeah.
Not more than just like 7 days early access. They have the 2 expansion packs later on that will be coming. They also have the new Gods pack called Freya, which is new to the game. And also for the fans that remember the original, so like we have an additional pack that you can change the portrait of the gods to be the original classic look
You can go
as well.
retro.
So you can go retro. Just for the hardcore fans that they would love those. I highly recommend the premium edition.
Yeah.
It's like it is just really
it's
good.
It's great. There's so much good stuff in it. It's going to be really, really good.
So all
early access, that's hard to
And
beat.
early access.
Yeah.
Hard to beat.
I'm no mathematician, but 7 days before September 4th means August. So that means players can play in August if they get the premium edition. All right, I love that.
More is definitely more.
More is more.
really
I think that's like the banner. Of
More
this
monsters,
episode,
more chaos.
right? More
magic,
graphics, more pixels, all of the things.
More fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, Emma and Ernest, thank you so much for stopping by.
Thanks.
And obviously, like, tell the team, like, great job. And I know players all around the world are excited to jump in
We'll
to
pass that
Age
on.
of Mythology. Yeah, awesome. September 4th. Let's say
September 4th, PC and console.
Yeah.
There you go. There we go. Cool. Well, I think that wraps it up for us today on our special strategy-focused episode of the official Xbox podcast. So huge thanks to the Ara and Age of Mythology Retold teams, but we've got lots of other special episodes for you to check out this week. Here's the schedule, and we're looking forward to welcoming even more special guests, so make sure to join us back here tomorrow. And in the meantime, check out anything you may have missed earlier in the week on youtube.com/Xbox and on podcast services by searching for Xbox Podcast. See you tomorrow.